Okay, good afternoon and welcome everyone. I'm Tammy Hopp, the NAU Director of Alumni and Foundation Services. Beginning this year, we are offering a free monthly webinars for and by alumni. Last week, we featured Darren Anderson, who spoke about SCORE, a free business-to-business nationwide mentoring program. And next month, we'll feature Scott Dahl, who will talk about the value of an online portfolio. All webinars are being recorded. A schedule of webinars for 2017 and past recordings are available on our website. I've put the link in the chat box. For today's webinar, I'm honored to introduce Dr. Linda Woodard. Dr. Woodard is a 2016 graduate of NAU's Roosh Graduate Center, where she earned a Doctorate of Education in Community College Leadership. She currently serves as the Associate Vice President of Workforce Education and Economic Development, where she provides oversight of corporate engagement, continuing education, and apprenticeship-affiliated programs. She is also the president and founder of LDW Group, a small business that provides career and workforce development services for professionals, agencies, and organizations. Dr. Woodard has spent her career helping individuals find and succeed on their career paths. Her own career has taken a self-described bent arrow path, starting out as a mechanical engineer and ultimately moving to training and education, where she's found her passion. Today, she will be speaking to us on how we can promote thyself along our own individual career journeys. Welcome, Dr. Woodard.
Welcome. Thank you very much. And I am honored to be a part of this series. And I encourage all of my fellow colleagues in the program want to become alum to find something that you can share with others. And I just look forward to this. We can go on to the next slide.
I'm trying. There we go.
Okay, this is just a little bit about me, and as you'll see, and you can just go on down. I just kind of give some background information about myself. I have a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, a master of science in business management. Of course, very fortunate to have just earned my doctorate in education and community college leadership from NAU. I'm very, very excited about finishing, yay. I have over 20 years experience in secondary and higher education organizations. Many of those years have been in workforce development, and I've had several executive leadership positions in not only community colleges, but K-12 as well. I am a fund developer and a grant writer, and kind of to culminate that experience, I'm a certified workforce development professional, a certified career development facilitator, instructor, and a facilitator and trainer in that same vein. I'm a certified program designer and planner, and a certified resume writer, which is some of the stuff that I do in my small business. Because I'm a small business owner, I own a company called the LDW Group, LLC. Thank you. So just kind of, if you could just press the one tab first. When you describe yourself, and this is me describing myself, sometimes I feel like I'm an arrow just coming from two different directions in terms of, you know, what I'm doing, my career, some path that I'm taking. The next one, as you press, Tammy, sometimes I feel like I'm coming from all angles, all four different directions, north, south, east, and west. But this last one, if I had to describe myself, I would really describe myself as a bent arrow. And that's because of the path that my career has taken from something very technical in terms of engineering and kind of staying on that pathway of engineering. I went from engineering to working with a bunch of engineers, writing technical articles about welding equipment and ancillary equipment, climbing on top of buildings to open up gearboxes and look at welding equipment to write about them, to moving on to work for a program for The Ohio State University, where I actually began working with sixth graders and helped them to matriculate through high school so that they can get a full ride to Ohio State. I think that's where I got my bite into education and started my passion. But then I kind of bent my arrow again and went into fund development with the United Negro College Fund. So I was raising money for some historically Black colleges and universities. And then finally, I got bent into a community college position on the workforce side of Cuyahoga Community College. And so that is kind of where I've been, and that arrow is still going straight now to the right. And I've been in community college ever since. And I'm really, really excited about the work that I've been able to do in that area. Now, Tammy, if we can go on, we're here really to talk about promoting thyself. And when I put this presentation together several years ago, it was about helping dislocated workers who had been managers in companies who were getting a service through a local one-stop. And these individuals had to retool, retrain, and learn how to then redirect their themselves to present themselves. So I put together a presentation called Promoting Thyself to help them really know that you can be modest, but you need to promote yourself, because if you don't promote yourself, then who's going to promote you, right?
Right.
Okay. So why do we need to promote ourselves? We need to show off our attributes and our accomplishments. For those of us who think we're entrepreneurs and like to make money on the side, we want to get business. So we need to promote ourselves to do that. And oftentimes promotion is very, very critical when we want to get a job, or even in some cases to get a better job. This last little statement on here that says lamination works. And the only reason why I have that down there, I used to create a 3x5 card that had some of my attributes on them, and I would take those to resumes. So Tammy, if you can go to the next slide, you'll see that this was the front of the card. Actually, it was a 3x5 card, about that size. And this kind of tells the attributes. So when they ask that question, tell me a little bit about yourself. Then I could say, well, I'm ethical, I have excellent communication skills. I consider myself innovative. I'm pretty proficient in with my computer skills. I am one who always meets deadlines. I am exceptionally organized, and that's just I'm not just saying that, I am. If you come to my desk now, you'll see a pencil. If the pencil is moved, I know somebody was in my office. But the back side of the card, if you can go to the next slide, Tammy, tells a little bit more about what I actually have done as it relates to the posting that I was, a position that I was applying for. This was an actual card that I used at an interview where everybody in the school district, I worked in the school district as the executive director of the strategic communications department, and we all had to reapply for our jobs. We did a strategic plan, and the CEO said everybody has to reapply. So along with my resume and portfolio, career portfolio, I had these little cards. So I laminated them. Everything I have is shiny. And I don't know what it is about lamination, but lamination works. So this little card is laminated, and I would pass this card out at the interview as I sat down along with my career portfolio. And then when they asked that question, I said, I'm glad you asked. If you could take out that little card that I just passed out, you'll see some of my attributes then, and I go through that. So that's a way of promoting myself. And so there's these little tricks that you use that can help you even during the interview phase. So it's a front and a back side, and this is nothing more than a PowerPoint slide two PowerPoint slides that I JPEG'd, fitted them onto one sheet, went to Kinko's, and laminated it, cut it in half, and laminated it through the laminate, and I had 50 of these. So it's a cheap way to promote yourself during an interview. If we can go on to the next slide. We talk about skills, and when I always say, have you scanned yourself lately? You know, and there's some great tools out there that card sorts and things like that talks about your skills. But oftentimes we're so busy working, we don't talk about our skills and our likes, our dislikes. So when you talk about your skills, if I were to put mine up there, I would say I was pretty organized, computer proficient, a grant writer, I'm a good project manager. Even though I don't have my PMI yet, I'm working on it. I had to get through my dissertation first. Workshop facilitation. And my likes, I love working with people. I like making money. I love to travel. So you talk about your dislikes. What do you like to do but lack the skill set to do it? And what skills do you have with high proficiency but don't like doing? I'll give you an example of that. And this is when you decide to whether or not you're going to invest some money to or take a job when you have great proficiency, but you might not like it. I'll give you an example. I hate writing grants, but I'm very proficient in it. So if a contract came to me to the LDW group and it was significant enough and it required me to do some grant writing, I probably would do it because I have a high proficiency in, you know, writing successful grants that actually make. So I would do that. And on the other hand, what do you like, but you may not have the skill set? I always wanted to be a pilot. I thought that flying was the whole, I want to be a pilot, but I have to take those lessons and I can't afford them. So I may have a great love for something, but I'm not very proficient in it. Do I want to invest in something like that to get my proficiency up? So when I talk about have you scanned yourself lately, that's what I'm talking about, your likes and your dislikes. So we can go on to the next slide. Talk about something continuing on with the promoting thyself. I tell folks, and I'll let you know, Tammy, when to go to the next slide, but I tell people, have you Googled yourself lately? Start out by Googling yourself and see what happens. 80% of employers research prospective candidates online. So they're going to look at Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, but they're also going to look at, they're going to Google you. And whatever lands on that page is what is going to stick on the notes that they write about you, as well as what they see on your Facebook page, what they see in your LinkedIn, what they see on your YouTube, what they see in your Twitter account, and I have all of those. The resume, if you have online presence of your resume, you got to have those keywords because job boards scan those keywords when matching. So you want to make sure that is presented and that's presented correctly because you're always promoting yourself. LinkedIn, as we all know, is the most accepted professional profile site that everybody uses. So let's talk about Googling yourself and let's see what happens. Tammy, why don't you go to the next slide? And why don't we just hit Google? And can you type in my name there, Linda D. Woodard? Let's see what happens. Let's see what pops up. Oh boy. Now, ooh. As you can see, don't go up yet, Tammy.
Okay.
As you can see in your vision, you see everything on here so far is me. Now that lovely picture with me with my hand down like that, actually that picture is a couple years old. The picture that has the checkered outfit, that's me recently here at Florida State College at Jacksonville. And the picture with me in red with the lady sitting in the sitting next to me, that's a video. Actually, it was a TV show that I did in Cleveland a few years ago. So your online presence means everything, but this is how you can really promote yourself. So you can envision the view goes here. Now, if you scale down a little bit on this page, Tammy, you'll see that you still see me. Okay, Linda D. Woodard, this LDW group is still me. That Facebook profile is still me. The news from the LD, that's a constant contact. I have that on my website. So I have a blog and I have constant contact. You go all the way down and stop right there. You'll see this North Carolina. That's not me. So anything below that is not me. That's not me. So if you go back up to the top of the page of when you landed on the page, this is what people are going to see. So is it going to be positive or is it going to be negative? That's a choice that we must make when we're trying to promote ourselves. So we can go back to the presentation. Just keep your thought on that, and I'll show you some things a little bit later. This is all in promoting ourselves. The dreaded questions, when we talk about, ways to present ourselves and getting ready for different things like interviews and presentations, or particularly interviews or filling out applications. How many of you were fired or terminated from a job? Fired and terminated doesn't necessarily have to be bad. I've been terminated twice from the same community college, and I was a stellar employee. But reorganization sometime will take stellar employees and have them dislocated. So I'm proud to say I'm a terminated employee. I'm glad I'm working now. But sometimes terminated doesn't necessarily mean, but you need to be able to respond to that. Do you tip around that issue during an interview? Do you avoid talking about it? Or do you have any bad public press? And the reason why I asked that last question is it leads to the next slide, that if you do have bad press, and I mean bad public press, is what we saw, say, on Google, okay? When you Googled yourself, did you have any negatives? And I'll give you an example of why having an online promotion of yourself is so critical to maintain a positive view of yourself. While working in Cleveland and at the community college there, I was one of the partners with our local One Stop. And they worked with this management group, who's the group that I actually created this presentation for. One of the gentlemen who was dislocated wasn't necessarily a manager. He used to be one of our councilmen in our area. And unfortunately, he took some kind of $2,500 bribe, and he had been the councilman for like 15 years in that area, did wonderful, knew all the people in the community, and he took some kind of money when he wasn't supposed to. Okay, so what the press did, the media and everybody, TV, everybody, they wrote about it, they reported about it, and all you saw in his Google was all this negative stuff for like 2-3 pages back. 2 or 3 pages back is when you got to, he created the first playground for the kids in the neighborhood, or he helped the elderly find heat resources for the winter. All the good stuff was really, really buried down. So what we helped them do was to bury the negatives and look at these 4 steps in doing this, creating and managing the public profiles. That is critical. When you talk about promoting yourself, you have to have many of them, several of them. If you can remember the Google site, when you went to Google and saw the landing page there, you saw that there were several different types of profiles that existed under me, not just Facebook and LinkedIn, but I have just about every free online profile I have, because I need to promote my business. So I use those free resources to do those. I have a couple that I actually pay for. But step 1 is to create and manage those public profiles. And in doing so, you have to always add new information to keep it refreshed. So you almost have to put yourself on a schedule to do that. It helps also to comment in news articles and forums and social media, but the social media that makes sense, like LinkedIn. There's a lot of groups that you can get involved in where you can actually respond to that, and that becomes now part of your online promoting and promotion of yourself. Link your sites. When you talk about linking your LinkedIn with your Facebook, with your Twitter, where everything is linked so that it gets multiple hits on the internet. And step 4 is take back negative keywords. And you don't want to put anything up that is going to draw a negative to you. So this gentleman, we had him go through and create several online profiles, for which I will show you a few of them when later on in the conversation here. And by doing so, we asked him to do that for about 3 weeks. And we wanted to come back and see what Google had. Well, it was miraculous, but his online profile stayed at the top. And if we had to go to the second page, at the bottom of the second page, to get the fact that he had gotten some trouble for taking $2,500. So in trying to help him promote himself to employers who would be looking at him and not knowing his name and couldn't connect him to his work in the community, it was not a negative strike against him. So that's how important it is to keep these online profiles. And I help people with identifying, just there's a ton loads of free services for people if you want those. So if we can go on to the next slide. So if you can't delete something bad, bury it with something good, basically. And it actually works. I take time, and I'll be quite honest, the last several months, it was writing that paper. So, you know, you write the paper, and now hopefully that paper, once it gets published in ProQuest, it will be on that landing page if you Google my name. Okay, if we can go on to the next slide, this continues on with crushing the negatives. You can use a variety of sources to do that. Of course, your social media, but there are several other free sources and sources that you can use. Formspring Me, Foursquare, About Me, Blogger. If you have a website or an online a website that has a blog attached to it, you can always issue out every week articles that you put out, as well as a bio that you put online. But you have Tumblr, you have PhotoBucket, there's multiple ones, YouTube accounts, Prezi. You know, I have a Prezi presentation that I have for the small business that I have that is online that people can see if they want. One good thing about all of these is it creates a URL for the person to be able to then share with multiple sources as well. So this is one way to crush the negative. We can move on to the next slide. So we talk about preparedness, and this is just you know, when you think about promotion and getting prepared for promotion, I ask people, you know, how many of you are prepared for losing your job? You know, they think I'm crazy when I say that. Well, you know, most of the jobs that we have nowadays are temporary assignments, right? I'm going to tell you how old I am in Spanish, blah, 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 blah. As old as I am, my parents are 83 and 84. And when they worked, my dad worked 40 years at the one place, and my mom was a nurse, and she worked 37 years at her hospital, and they retired, and they're on Social Security and enjoying life. But their children have had multiple positions because employers, the thinking, the business plan, the strategy of business and industry nowadays is not as is totally different than it was for our parents. So we have to be prepared to move on, prepare yourself for change. So I tell people, update your resume every 6 months. If you have it online, it needs to be updated because you're promoting yourself that way. So you need to have it updated every month. I do this thing that I call the sticky note thing. So every year when the new fiscal year starts on July 1, you learn, you're doing different projects and things on your job. Every time you do a new project, write it on a sticky note, put it on your resume, because your resume should be posted somewhere on your desk. That's how I look at it. Then you post those sticky notes every time you get a new project, a new assignment, and you've done well in it. You put what it is, what you did, and what the results were. And then when it comes time to doing your resume and updating your resume, all you got to do is take those sticky notes and update your resume. How many of you have an updated mock application ready? And how many of you have asked your supervisor at the end of your performance evaluation to give you a recommendation statement? Most people don't do that. Recommendation statements are good, and you should always ask, can I use it in a career portfolio? And if they say yes, then it can be published. So most people don't think about asking their supervisor to make a comment. She's a great worker. She's the best thing that ever came to Florida. Now they don't say that, but you know, you can ask your employer, your supervisor, to give you a statement. Do you keep up with your accomplishments? This is very important when we talk about getting ready to promote thyself. We go to the next slide. So we say promoting thyself. What are your next steps? And let's get busy. Promoting ourselves. And I'm not going to go really in depth in career portfolios. I do career portfolios as a service in my small business, the LDW group. So I do those for people all over the country. But do you have a hard copy of your career portfolio? Do you have an online profile such as LinkedIn? You should have both. It's very important that you do, because this is the basic part about promoting thyself. We can go on to the next slide. Oops. We're talking about getting started, and I'll kind of go through these slides maybe a little faster, Tammy, and okay. I'll tell you when to go. The first part is artifacting, so you're going to be cutting and pasting a lot of information out, and you're going to be collecting stuff. So let's go on to the next slide. And we talk about a portfolio. It's just a collection of your materials and your artifacts, and we use them in a variety of ways. You can use a portfolio. They're usually used during the interview process only, not uploading for your application or anything like that. This is a tool that you use to help provide more enhanced information about your experiences and your attributes and your capabilities to an interview team, panel, or somebody that you're interviewing with. But it leaves a really complete picture of yourself when you leave the room. If nothing else, if your portfolio is done well, like the LDW group does them, the people will say, boy, she really did a lot of work, you know, in preparing for this interview. It's sort of like gives you the edge over someone who's coming in to the job, coming into the interview with just a resume. You know, nowadays we have to be a little bit more, how can I say, creative in helping to promote ourselves and tell the stories about ourselves. And we go to the next slide. So why do a career portfolio? Most important thing is it tells your story. As I said before, it's a rich account of more than just your resume. It gives an expanded view. It becomes a gift to your future self, basically. Next slide. These are basically the components of a hard copy portfolio. You got a table of contents. You have a cover letter that's kind of targeted towards the posting that you're interviewing for. Of course, you have your resume document in there with references. And the thing about references and promoting yourself, you have to be very careful in hard copy and online. If you're going to do a portfolio, you must ask everybody on your reference list if you can publish them, whether it's hard copy, and particularly if it's online, because once your portfolio is online, everybody in the world can see it. And so your references, you want to make sure. My portfolio has references furnished upon request, just a statement on that page because if you have one person that says, well, no, don't publish me, but anybody can call me if you need me for a reference, fine. Well, that might be the one person that I want to make sure everybody sees. So I just eliminate it all by just putting that one statement. And then there's recommendations or recommendation statements, certifications, professional affiliations, and all these other things, published work, anything that tells your story. And then this last tab is the tab that's specific to the posting or what you're interviewing for. So if I'm interviewing for the program manager of, say, workforce programs, that last tab in my portfolio will say workforce programs. And the question is, Linda, can you give us a little bit of information about your background in working with workforce development programs? Well, I'm glad you asked that question. If you could take your portfolio and turn to the last tab, it's labeled workforce development programs. I'd be happy to give you just a few. And so you have everybody turn that tab and you just start talking about some of those things that's behind that tab. That's how you use a portfolio during an interview. Okay, we can go to the next slide. An e-version of the portfolio is just about the same. It has everything the hard copy has, but it also has the ability to allow you to add links to your other online profiles. So you can put your link for your LinkedIn, your link for your Twitter, your Career Scribe, or any other online profiles that you have. Online portfolios are what we call e-version portfolios. Career portfolios also give you a URL that you can also send to people to thank them for the interview. You know, somebody wants to know some information about you, send them your e-portfolio. It has everything you need in it. That's promoting yourself. But you got to make sure that that e-portfolio is tight, well written, and it promotes you well. Next one, please. Now on this part, I'm going to go through. I think we've got this down pat now, Tammy.
I think so. We'll see.
I'm going to show just a few, not that one. I didn't want to hit that one. We're going to be hitting the ones with my name on them. eFolio World is the one that I actually pay for. And I use eFolio World because it provides me the opportunity to create multiple online portfolios, many of which I use to give, if people want information about my products and services, I give it not as a selling tool, but an informational piece. So if we can go to this one and go down here, this one here is, I believe, is my own professional one. And you'll see that this one has a cover letter. If we can go to the cover letter, it has a cover letter that is just kind of generic, that tells about some of the things that I can do. Professional history, which is the same thing that's in your hard copy version. This particular resource allows you to be able to create your history in here, but it will also, if you can go back to the top, I actually pulled out the relevant higher ed experience and the relevant career development experience. So you pull that, and what it did was just pull out of here, that's just higher ed. So it's relevant higher ed experience. So it gives people, when you talk about promoting yourself, you want to have ease of promotion as well. So this helps people to go directly to that. We look at references. This explains, you'll see exactly what I put in my hard copy profiles, which is professional references can be provided upon request. And this protects any of the references who really do not want their name out on the worldwide highway somewhere, and knowing that, they're promoting you, or, it may be a touchy situation, but they're totally willing to provide a professional reference, but this protects them. And then the next tab is certification and affiliations. And so that just kind of lists your professional certifications. And then the last tab is a link directly to my website. You go to that, you get to the LDW group. And when you're talking about, you know, giving people an opportunity to see what you're doing, there's a tremendous opportunity for you to get wide exposure through an e-version of anything. So on this particular website, I also have a blog that I actually do blog posts to, and it gives me the opportunity to then say some things I want to say. And if you click on, so this is, I trained the Career Center managers here last year. I had to train our career development center managers, and they went through the CDF training. And so this just, you know, pictures of folks that I've trained. But I've also put articles through here, which goes now out. So I'm still promoting myself. Mm-hmm. So we can go back out of eFolio, my eFolio, and go back to probably the presentation at this point. Here's another version of, if you go back one.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem. This is another free version. What I try to do for people is find all the free stuff out there. So this is Wix.com, and they give you about $125 worth of advertising vouchers for Google and Facebook, but you get a free domain, and it's fairly user-friendly. So when I go in and set these up, now I consider myself very computer savvy. I'm just joking, I'm not. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. So my thing is, if I say it's fairly user-friendly, it probably is. If we can just click this one right quick. This one is kind of promoting the CDF training that I do. Uh-oh.
You want me to try that?
Well, I don't know if this will be on your end if you don't have Adobe Flash. I don't know.
We'll just see if it pulls up quick.
Okay, I think it's coming in now. That looks like it there.
There we go.
This is Wix, and it has, it's fairly easy to use. It gives you an opportunity to say some things about, you can create the tabs across the top. You could say who you are, Linda D, what do you see? I have not updated this because I'm not just a master's degree individual anymore. I'm a PhD, but I said I'm a facilitator and a trainer. This is also, if you Googled me, you probably would get my Wix. We can come out of this and go to the next slide. So that's Wix.com, that's free. It didn't take any time to do that. We can go to the next slide. Here's another way to promote yourself. This is through Carbon Made. This one is, you can upgrade this from the free account to $12 or so a month, and you get to add more photos. I stick with the free stuff because I need to get myself out there positively, and I don't like to spend money unless I have to. So let's just click the Linda Woodard Carbon Made and see what that one looks like. So this gives you just another way of putting some of the same information. You'll see that I can put skills and things about myself. If you press the about up there, I think it'll probably take you to some of the same information, but it should just link you.
I think we might be on the about tab.
Let's go to contact. And so it should have, it says it's unavailable. I don't know why the information is not there, but you can populate this to give the contact information. So let's come back out into the slides. And we'll go to the next slide. So we talk about online profiles, and they're really easy to set up depending on the tool that you're using. If you consider yourself a professional, at minimum, you should have a LinkedIn account. That's very, very important. Let's go on to the next slide because I want to say something about LinkedIn and how important. You'd be surprised how many people do not have LinkedIn accounts. And I mean, if you're going to promote yourself by just pure, just if you're working somewhere and you consider yourself a professional, you should have a LinkedIn account. When I just did some Googling on LinkedIn site, they have 460 million, is that right? Million members across the country in 24 different languages. When I looked at this about 4 years ago, they had 240 million members. So in a couple of years, they've gone up that many members. It's the fastest growing, their fastest growing demographic right now are students and recent grads. They have over 40 million of those in LinkedIn. So as a professional, this is bare minimum. We should have a LinkedIn account. We can go on to the next slide. Let me get this off of my screen. Indeed. Indeed is if I had to tell people where to post their resumes to give an online presence of yourself, to promote yourself in a job board, Indeed is where one of the ones I will go to. So let's go on to the next slide. And if you can go to myindeed.com. This is very, very, very user-friendly, and everybody should have, especially if you're looking and trying to promote yourself. You can put your resume up there. You'll actually type it in. You make it public so that prospective employers can look at it. I get a lot of hits to my resume here on Indeed. I've not taken it down, not making it not published, not unpublishing it, I should say, because it's important to keep yourself in the loop at all times. You never know what will happen. Not that I'm out here job seeking, which I'm not at this point, but it's good to know that people are interested in you. So that's Indeed. So let's go on to the next slide. There are additional online profiles that can help you. Career Scribe is one of my favorites, though. If we can go on to the next slide, and so we can hit my Career Scribe. This one I actually love because it allows you, if you can hit that one, Tammy.
Oh, yep.
At the bottom. This one allows you to put up different types of media. So if it comes up, as you can see, you can put your photo up. You can put different links on the left side. So you see that I have my portfolio up there, I have my website up there. I've got a couple of portfolios there. But if you go to on the right side, and let's just click that video there.
Oops. It's wanting me to, oh, it's saying I can't open this file, Linda. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No problem. It opened up on mine. But basically, this is another, you can close it. You can close out the box there. Okay, don't close it yet. What this does is Career Scribe allows you to send out a lot of different information about yourself. And that particular video is a short video that I made in my dining room. As you can see, my cornices on the wall there over my windows. Just talking about the LDW group. So I just talked about if you're interested in getting an industry recognized credential in career development, we have that training for you. And it tells you how to get connected with that training. So that is Career Scribe. It's a wonderful online profile. This is one of the ones that I had the gentleman. All of these that I'm going through is the online profiles that I had the gentleman who used to be the councilman do, so that he can build up his profile. We can go on to the slides. About Me is another one. I won't go into About Me, but that's another free service that you can use. You can go on to the next slide as well as the next one. Wix.com is another free service. We can go on past this one. I think we did Wix.
Yeah, I think we might have went, oh, there we go. Oh, sorry.
Okay, that's fine. You're fine because we did Carbon Made as well. So you talk about why online profiles. Okay, just remember they help to promote you. your online profile provides you with a very important URL that you could send out to multiple different places, to multiple people, to promote yourself in a variety of different ways. So promoting yourself, not only through hard copy, resumes, career portfolios, but then you can take it to another level by promoting yourself by doing things online. And the more that you do that's positive, the more profiles that you do that have something positive about you allows you to present a positive face on yourself as you're being Googled or going into any of the search engines to put your name in. So it allows you to do a thank you after an interview. Gives you any one of those online profiles that we did along with your e-portfolio, you could use a URL and thank someone. You could thank the whole committee. Say there were some committee members on the interview team who weren't there. You tell them thank you, and you put that down after you say thank you, and they click that and they go into now another expansion of yourself. And you also do it to reconnect after the networking, after a networking meeting. So a lot of times people are networking, they're trying to get a job, and you go to these networking events and you get business cards from everybody, but you can't sit there and pass out resumes. So one good way to do it is to connect back with those folks. It was great meeting you at the networking event last night, and look forward to talking with you in the future. Just want to leave you with a little information. Hit one of those URLs on them and see how impressive that is. So in that, I would like to say on the last slide, tools to move forward. Now you have some tools to have a solid electronic presence. So I tell people, never be ashamed to promote thyself, because if you don't promote yourself, don't expect others to promote you and the way that you want to be promoted. So with that ends. You can go to the next slide, because I think I actually say thank you for listening.
That was great, Linda. If you don't mind, I have a couple questions.
Sure.
What would you recommend for a new graduate or somebody who might feel like they're in a rut? They've been in their position for a decade or more and aren't quite sure how to promote themselves.
Okay, I'll do the new graduate real quickly here. My daughter graduated from nursing school in 2012. And of course, she's been sick of me with all this stuff for the longest, but she had an e-portfolio. And her e-portfolio consisted of the goals that she had in wanting to be a nurse, and a lot of the organizations that she was involved with, as well as some of the accomplishments that she made, that she did while she was in school, because she was involved with several sorority and fraternities, business and nursing sororities that she was involved in. So she had her own portfolio that she brought in a hard copy and an e-version. So when she went to her first interview as a nurse, she brought her portfolio with her. And they were so impressed because, how many new grads come out with some kind of document that kind of explains what they did that was relevant to what they're trying to do in the real world. So she was involved with working with youth in a lot of health programs while she was in college. So all that work was relative. For a person who's in a rut, that person I would work with to talk about their transferable skills and some of the work that they've done, because a lot of times people don't understand or don't know that the work that they've done in the past is really great work. They just don't exactly know how to promote it or put it in a format such as this. And so I've not found one person, whether they're a new person, a dislocated worker, someone who's fired, someone who's new in the work, emerging worker, that you can't do something to help promote them in any one of these versions.
Right. Okay. We have a participant, Scott Dahl. I'll read his question, and then I'm also going to unmute his mic, so if there's any follow-up. But he's wondering what advice you have for someone who may be shy or nervous to make cold calls and ask people to connect on LinkedIn.
Oh, that's a great question. First of all, one thing about I hate to do this because I love to talk with people, and I think that some of these walls that these social medias give you makes people who are shy more bolder because you're not really with those people. But for instance, with LinkedIn, that is the best way to get connected. Once you get connected to one person, you have access to all their connections. So it's a matter of going through that. I go through people's connections all the time. I got about, 1,200 connections. And when I'm looking for something specific, I will go in my connections and look for my first ones and look at who they're connected with. You can always say that you are a first connection with someone else. I've not met one person that has not accepted my invitation to connect, to learn more about that. And it's a professional courtesy through LinkedIn to do that. So I have given people informational interviews because they came through my LinkedIn account. One, you're not going to get you usually don't get a bunch of messy stuff. You're going to get somebody who's professional, who's trying to look for a job or get another opportunity. So that's what we do on LinkedIn. And once that person gets their job, they're going to allow the same courtesy for someone who's then seeking for them. But the connections allow you to have even a broader view, a broader connection to people that may be able to get in for an informational interview, a conversation, direct you somewhere. So I would say that's, Scott, that's a good way to really get involved with other people who have tentacles that can get you other places too.
Yeah, and a big part of that in getting over maybe anxiety or shyness is recognizing that's exactly how LinkedIn is supposed to be used, and people expect you to use it in that way.
Yeah.
And then the flip side of that is what you've been saying throughout your presentation, which is only you are in a position to promote yourself. So being brave and courageous and going forth for your own advancement is really necessary.
It is really important. I learned a long time ago when I got my first dislocation at the first college. I thought these people knew that I was the greatest thing since sliced bread. I thought they knew this. I knew it, but you got to expect for other people to have the same vision that you have of yourself. And I'm not being, arrogant or anything like that, but I know what I've done, and I want to drive that bus. I'd rather put my own spin on how I want you to view my accomplishments and things that I'm trying to do to help people, to help students. And so it's just a mindset that you have to change, and that the internet allows us to even go further with this if you do it in a very strategic and positive way.
And on that note, you listed about 20 different sites that you could use to promote oneself online.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I know I would not be very good at maintaining that many sites. Do you have a recommended minimum number? LinkedIn being number one, but
I would say that, Scott, were you getting ready to say something?
No, that's a great question though.
I would say no more than 5 or 6 actually, because if you look at Indeed, if you look at LinkedIn, okay, those are 2 bare minimums. And then I would suggest you have a couple that will allow you a URL to send out as well. So like Career Scribe is wonderful. I love Career Scribe, and I like Carbon Made. And if you're going, so that's about 4.
Mm-hmm.
I do it because I'm promoting some training. So however I can get as many as much information out in many different venues. I do that because of the business. Now, a person who is in an active job search, they may do 10 profiles.
Right.
They do that many. Most of us who are working right now, it's like my Twitter account, I schedule tweets. I use socialump.com to schedule tweets, and I will spend a Sunday afternoon for about an hour and a half, and I'll schedule all my tweets out for the week instead of trying, who can do that all day? Like Donald Trump, I don't know how he does it. But and I know he's not scheduling them because they're all reactionary tweets, but I actually schedule my tweets out so that I don't have to be bothered with that. But I would say about four or so online accounts, including your Indeed and your LinkedIn.
Okay. One other question, and sorry, I'm sort of jumping around. Scott, feel free to step in anytime. I don't mean to dominate this, but another question that came to mind when you were, you had said not to be shy about asking during a performance review your supervisor for a recommendation statement. And I could see some employees feeling a little uncomfortable because it seems like you might be looking for another job. But what I'm hearing you say is that your supervisor might be very glad to do that and even would expect that from you. Is that right?
Absolutely. Let me give an example. When I earned the doctorate, the first thing, it's always great to update stuff when you get a major different new accomplishment or something. So the doctorate allowed me to do that. That was in December. So I sent out, asked to, I don't know, maybe 30 or so people for recommendation letters, not recommendations, but statements or professional reference, not a reference, how can I say it? Just a statement in a letter format of my professional abilities as one of their colleagues. So I got this from not only the provost, but the campus deans, the campus presidents, but other colleagues in workforce development who are not at the college, direct reports, supervisors, kind of a 360 view. And included those in my portfolio. So the ask was, I am updating my career portfolio. Now I tell my supervisors this every year. At the end of my year, the fiscal year, I update my resume and my portfolio. And I would like to include a statement about my accomplishments for the year. I've not met one supervisor that told me, I'm not going to give you a statement.
Right.
So you just have to, people aren't used to doing that because they're not used to asking for those things. But if you look at it for the purpose of updating your career portfolio, your resume, those things are important. And I don't know one supervisor or manager that would say, no, I'm not going to provide you with that. And you don't have to do it in the vein that you're trying to find a job. And I got my degree in December and I'm still here and I've got 40 recommendation letters from people to put in my portfolio, my newest portfolio.
Right. Well, and it's not unlike how LinkedIn works, where people will post recommendations and endorse certain skills.
And that's a very important point, because where you can get a lot of your recommendation statements for your career portfolio comes from your LinkedIn account. Because once somebody provides you with a recommendation on your LinkedIn account, they have to sign off that they know it's going to be published. Once it's published, it's published. Right. Use it for whatever you need to do because it's published. And that's why you can say yay or you can say no, but there's a disclaimer there that talks about when you give a recommendation through LinkedIn, this is what it means. So you can just cut and paste some of those statements into your portfolio, because you don't always have to have recommendation letters. You can have recommendation statements. which
Right.
is easier to do because I have a email kind of script that I send out to people when I want a statement from people.
Excellent. Well, we are up against the hour. Scott, did you have any final questions?
I guess I had one last question with, so much social media. Do you still recommend if it's local, going by and dropping off your resume and cover letter?
Absolutely. I mean, nothing beats a face-to-face. If the other party is willing to and has the time that can meet, but it doesn't hurt to send hard copies of anything. I will give you an example of how hard copies sometimes can either be beneficial or not. Say you want to change something in your portfolio, say something just came up or you found a mistake in your portfolio. If you have that same portfolio online, you can make your change immediately and it's changed. You send somebody a hard copy portfolio, if it's not done by a professional where you can make sure everything is perfect, it's just like a resume. If you have one mistake in it, then you're giving somebody something that is not as professional. But getting back to your point, nothing beats a face-to-face. And even I didn't put one of my resources up here. I have something that's called My Video TV, where I actually do thank yous through video. And I will send that link to the interview panel, and it opens up a video that says thank you to the folks as face-to-face as I can get to with them after conducting the interview. So yes, face-to-face is always the greatest way, but then you have these other ways to get to people when you need to.
That's great. Well, Linda, in respect for your time, really, really appreciate the expertise you shared with us today. I know it's going to be incredibly valuable to our students and our alumni. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And thank you, Scott, for joining in.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.
Goodbye.